Well, this is a great fun way to use your resin. We've got some luminous colours which will glow in the dark, and we're just going to have some fun. So I'll just talk you through what you have in your kit so that you're familiar with it before we start. Now you've got your silicone reusable mould. Now you can use this as many times as you want. Just wash it out afterwards with soapy water and you're ready to go again with some more incense stick holders. We've got the little plastic beakers for measuring and mixing. We've got the epoxy resin. Now you have an A and a B, so it's half and half, 1 to 1 is basically what you mix, and then that will make it work so that it goes hard. We have these lovely fluorescent powders. We've got a green, that's a blue, but that starts off quite sort of almost see-through, an opaque sort of white colour, and then under UV light, or if it's been charged in the dark, it will look blue. And then we've got the luminous orange. I'll just put the lids on those for now because they're easy to tip over. There we go. Better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so what else have we got? We have got a few charms. Let's just tip those out for you to see. Now I put them into pots of which incense burner that you're going to be using. So we've got all those, and that one that was too big to go in the pot. Sometimes they fit in the pot, sometimes they won't. But we've got a lovely little cat charm there, spider's web. They will be different each time. Some bats, some eyes. So no, that's great. Let's pop that back. So you'll follow me as you go through. It's step by step. You can stop it, you can rewind it. Nice and easy. Let's put the lid on that too. Now also to go in with that, we have got these really nice, very sparkly bits of glitter to go on. And there's enough for 2 of these in there. In fact, there's more than enough. So just take out as much as you need for the 2 that we're going to use. I've got a little bit of lace that you might sort of have to cut to fit, but that looks quite nice set in the resin. Some other bits to go in there and a little bat. And then we also have some black, very shiny stuff to go in. So that's your kit, and I think the next thing we need to do is to make a start. Now you'll notice this little spirit level. Now I always try to get a board on my table flat, because if you don't, the resin always finds its own level, and what you will find is that it will start to sort of run out. Now if that's happening and you haven't got it quite straight, I would just quickly put something underneath it just to raise it out if it's running down. But hopefully we've got this straight enough. I think I managed to get glitter into my mould before I've even started. I'm sure that won't hurt. I just want to make sure that's all clean in those, see those grooves? Right, so let's do some mixing. Now it's 1 to 1. I'll just sit those in there for the moment. So we'll take half of that and half of that. Right, so we mix the ratio of 1 to 1. So what I'm going to do is fill up 1 cup of the A and 1 cup of the B, and then I'm going to put half of it into that. That's going to be our cup with it mixed. And that way, if we remember which is A and which is B, you could write it on there if you want to. Then you won't set it hard by mixing it the wrong time next time. So, right, take one of those beakers, and I've labelled that into A and B. I've written that on there so I don't forget. So just pour half into there. A bit more. Now we'll probably need all of this, if not a little bit more, but you don't probably want to mix up too much. Is that half? sort of sticks to the edges, so it's sometimes a little bit difficult to tell. I think that's a good half and half. And now we've got to mix it really thoroughly for about 4 minutes. Mix it quite slow, we don't want air bubbles in it if we can help it. And mix right into the edge of that cup. And sort of scrape it around the sides. It's got to all be mixed really properly. At the moment that looks a bit cloudy, and as it starts to mix it will go clearer. So, good exercise, just make sure it's all just mixed really well. Feels quite Halloweeny today. I can hear the wind and the leaves and the trees are all rustling outside. I just keep mixing. Now see, that's gone clear now, so we're ready. So we pour from that end down to this end, and I want it just to cover. We're working in reverse, so we just want that to cover that in a very thin line. And a bit more. And I'm just going to push that sort of all around to make sure that it goes into those grooves, because if it doesn't get into that groove, what tends to happen is that you might get an air bubble or something, and you get a bit of a jagged edge, which isn't the end of the world, but we'll try to avoid that if we can. It's a fine line, getting it thick enough to cover, but not so thick that you can't get your last layer on there. Right, our next one. Right, let's mix up this last one. It all sticks to the edges, so you can lose quite a lot. Let's mix that well. Just push that into the edges before. It's really difficult to see where those air bubbles are. Right, let's do some mixing again. 4 minutes into the edges. Pull the rest of that in quickly. And that one. Push that all around into, make sure it just goes into those grooves. Just gap it a little bit. That might be a bit of a thinner layer. Just by pulling it, that should go in. The same with that one, just make sure it's covered. There's a bit more to this one. Make sure they're sort of even. There's no air bubble there, just sort of check over to make sure there's no air bubbles. I'll put that on top because everything gets quite sticky. I'm just going to open that so it runs. Okay, now we've just got to be really patient. I'll leave that long enough so that it doesn't have to be set hard, but it does need to be set enough that we can put the charms and things on top of it without it sort of sinking right through and going to the front. Right, I've just mixed up 1 cup, half and half. I've been stirring for 4 minutes, so it's nice and mixed in. Now this has been set for about 6 to 8 hours and it's just tacky. So what we're going to do is just pour a little bit of that over each one. And just thinking which one's best to do. I think that one can go up there. So put that in, the charm, just switch it around so that you don't get any air bubbles underneath. I think I'll push that up a bit actually. I think that would be quite nice up that end by that. Let's put a bit of lace. Let's see if that's going to go just over the top like that. Squidge that down, sort of squidge that in. I don't want any touching the edges, so just pull that round so it's away from that edge. Ooh. There we go. Just empty out our little bits here. That's actually near that edge, so just pull that over. Don't want it sticking out the resins. We're going to pop those like that. Now we've got these eyes. They can go sort of upside down. Pop one there. Whoops, wrong way around. This is where you just get covered in resin. Oop, in with the fingers. Okay, let's wipe that off. Another charm little cat, that's quite nice. The bat. They're just little coloured bats. Some are black. And I'm just sort of moving them around so that there's no air bubbles underneath. And I think a little bit of this glitter, not too much of it. You've got more than enough here, there's plenty. This is the purple one. It's holographic. Now remember we're working back to front, so if you want it to show through, it's sort of got to be behind. Now the other thing I'm going to do is just put this bit of lace over there. I don't think I want it as big as that, so just rip that, that'll give me quite a nice edge. And I'll just rip it that end, and then that can just sort of sit over there like that and push that in. And away from the edges. You can cut it a little bit more if you wanted to, but You can sort of push it a little bit. And then just a tiny bit of that resin, not much, just over the top of that. And that way, when you look through, you'll see all those things, even when we've got our dark layer on top afterwards. Okay, on to the next one. Again, a little bit of resin. Just gently do that because it's still soft underneath. Because it's slightly gooey, we shouldn't get a line through there. Okay, this one, let's keep him simple. Let's just go for a bat. That bat. I don't think it matters what way round he is. That can sort of go there. And then we've got all these pumpkins. Bits and pieces. Let's just sprinkle those in. If they're overlapping, we need to sort that. I'm just getting stickier and stickier. Let's take that over the top. Sort of teasing them a little bit so again there's no air bubbles underneath. And I think a little bit more of that purple. It's really gorgeous. Should just get a stick, that might make it a little bit easier where you want it in certain places. Just little bits. That's perfect. And on to our last one. And we're keeping him really simple as well. So again, exactly the same thing. Pour that on. Just smooth that around. Smooth that up to those edges too. And let's place this, I do like my batch, you probably guessed. And it's quite a big barrel. It's in there. Get that over the top. And then I've got some of this black. If I can get it open. Everything gets so sticky. It's probably a good idea to use a hand cream. Just put a little bit of this hand creamer on, and that cleans it really nicely. It gets off all that stickiness. Just gently shake. Don't want too much, but now what I can do now is just with this stick, because we've got it on liquid, just gently just tease that around so that they're sort of spread out a little bit. They look quite nice as they are there. And they're not in clumps. Now we need to leave this to dry. I've left that overnight and that's now solid, so we can now put our luminous colours on there. We mustn't put too much on because what I don't want is for them to run into each other. I want to keep the three colours separate. So I've just mixed up half and half, A and B, just mixing it really well into one pot, and then we can take off a little bit into three other pots to get our three different colours. And I'm sort of thinking about the colours that I'm going to use. I think that's 4 minutes. Let's just pop that there for the moment. So I'm thinking the blue, which looks clear and turns blue in luminous ultraviolet light, would be nice on that one. I think the green for that one, and I think the orange for that one might work quite well. So they come in here, I would just snap those off so that when you open them, you don't upset everything. And let's start with the blue. So I'm going to empty all of, let's just pull that forward. I'm going to empty all of that into here. So I want it quite strong. So all of that can go in, and then I can mix some of that. We don't need a lot because we don't want it running over that edge. And I can always top that up a little bit if I need to, maybe just a tiny bit more. And then let's use that stick. Just mix that again really well. I'm going to put one of my little finger things on. So I'll do a little bit of smoothing. And just pour that all over. And then just smooth that over the bottom. And then remembering all the time that this is in reverse. And we just want that to cover the bottom in a very thin layer. I think that's perfect. Goes right up to the edges. It's not running over, which is really good. That lace will sort of sink into that, which would be quite a nice effect. Okay. That's that one. On to the next one. So same sort of thing. Let's empty all the green into our pot. There we go. All of that in. Let's use that one. Oh, that's mixed quite well. Just stand that in there. Smooth that over. So we've got that the right level so that it doesn't run into any of the other moulds. We don't want that to happen. Now the last bit of resin we've got mixed up, let's add the orange to it. Just wipe that stick off on the cloth and mix that. And I find if the colours have run that they're not actually luminous when that happens. I don't know why, but let's empty that out all the way along. Scrape out every last bit. And now just smooth that in. And it will find its own level, so it will go flat, but just want to make sure that it's covered to start with. I think these are going to look really good when we turn them over. Just make sure that's right in the corners. Don't want any air bubbles anywhere. Oh, this is the exciting moment. I just love this bit. So we can feel that they're solid and hard. So we can just peel these out of their moulds and just sort of ease them out. I think they've joined a little bit down the middle, so that's that one. Those can come out together and just do that. Oh, these are gorgeous. Swap it around. And then you just, if you've gone over a little bit, sometimes you don't, it's sometimes if you move it, it sort of does that. Just break those edges off. And then anything that's a little bit jagged, you could just get a nail file, and I'll just show you. Right, so just sort of bend that a little bit, and they come off really easily. That one's a bit tough, just give it a little wiggle. Must have just been a bit lift in the mould. And then because these edges are a little bit untidy, all you've got to do is just gently do that with a nail file. Just on the sort of the hard edge, not on the side. That might take a little bit more doing. And that's really all we've got to do on all of those. And then we're ready to put our incense sticks in them. They have been fun to make. I hope you've enjoyed it too.